welcome back. Today's tutorial is all about putting flowers onto cakes. So many of you ask me how I do it, and so I thought I'd show you a little video of how to put edible and non-edible flowers onto my cakes. I'm going to start with the non-edibles. Now, ideally, I always use edible flowers just to play it safe. It's a lot easier. I've got great suppliers here in England, and if you're not from England, I think lots of other countries are spoilt for choice with their edible flowers because a lot of ours are imported. But in England, they do work seasonally, so they're not always in season. So for example, when it's the winter months, you have to use kind of short-bought flowers, but don't worry, you can still put them on your cakes, and I will show you how. So I've just bought some roses from the supermarket. They're nice and pretty, but even though roses are edible, these ones aren't because they've been treated with, I don't know, pesticides or maybe some other chemicals, so they're not safe to put directly on the cake. So if you're using non-edible flowers, I think it's always best to go for an edible option, in the sense roses are edible, just so you know that they're not poisonous, but you still need to prepare them correctly. So I'm going to show you how to prepare. So for example, I want maybe a stem, which I will trim because we don't need the whole lot, and maybe a leaf, just for some greenery. I'm going to put them together. So you will need a couple of bits of equipment, and I'll put the links below. But what you will definitely need is some Florist Tape. So if you've never seen this before, it feels like it's not sticky, but basically you tear a bit off, it's like paper, and you stretch it out. That already activates the stickiness of it. And then all I'm going to do is tape the bottom part of the stem and the leaf together. So not only does it stick the two together, it kind of just protects it. And what I'm doing, I'm rotating it in my fingers, and the warmth of my hand is making it stick even more. So you don't need extra glue or anything. I've made sure that it's covered the very bottom of the stem. Now, what you can then do is get a straw, put it in the bottom like this, and see where the stem's coming up to, and cut about 1 centimetre below that. Then using this straw, you can insert it directly into the cake and then place the flower directly in the straw. Now, instead of using a straw, there's this thing called safety seal, and it's basically an edible wax, and I've heated it up in the microwave, and so it's like loose wax. And I'm going to do the same again. This time I'll just use one rose. Tape it. I actually prefer this method. I think it really seals the flower. And all you do is dip where the tape is into the wax. And it basically forms a wax coating on the flower. Now, you would think to put this directly in the cake, but you actually have to wait until this is completely set rock hard before you do that. Otherwise the wax comes off and like mushes up into the cake. So I'm going to leave this to the side, show you the other techniques, and then come back to it. So I've got some actual edible flowers here. Again, I get them from a supplier. Make sure there are no insects. They are flowers, it's only natural, so if there are any, just like brush them off. I usually do it over a sink or over a bowl of water. Give them a little rinse. So some of the flowers are very fine and delicate, and if you get them wet, they tend to just kind of disintegrate. So I don't always wash my flowers. You can see if they're clean. It's like fruit and vegetable really, but edible flowers have no pesticides on them, so you don't need to worry about chemicals. And all you do with edible flowers, believe it or not, because they're edible, you can literally stick them directly on the cake. So that's that seems easy enough. So I think the easiest method out of all of these is probably just buying some edible flowers and sticking them on a cake. You can eat them. I've eaten them in the past. They taste of flour. So if you think you'll like the taste of flour, then be my guest. But it's basically, they're not poisonous, so you can put them on a cake. The last method I'm going to show you does take a few days. So I've obviously pre-prepared and sped up the process, but it's pressing flowers. Now I don't know if you ever did this when you were younger. I used to do this at school. I feel like there was a project of mine with art or something. Anyway, so you get a book, and I like doing it between two pieces of paper just to protect the book. Just place the pieces of paper in between the pages like this. And I usually do this if I've got any leftover edible flowers, just because I don't like them going to waste. And then place the edible flowers in the book. I like doing them face down. It's easier when you shut the book. You don't have to just do this with flowers as well. I've done it with herbs and sprigs of rosemary, and they press really nicely. So place them around. Just doing this as an example. Usually this would be pretty full with flowers. Anyway, I then close the book and then place this book under a heavy shelf or something with quite a lot of weight. So I've got actually a chest of drawers that I can kind of lift up and slip the book under. And you want to leave it there for at least a week. I sometimes forget about mine, so they end up being there for about 2. But the longer the better, because the weight of the shelves is pressing them down and drying them out. And what should happen, here's one I made earlier. Of these. So paper thin, beautifully pressed flowers. These are really stunning. Look, I've got some cornflowers. You can actually see how delicate they are because I just broke a couple of petals. I've seen a lot of biscuits being made with them. This is like a little sprig that I've done. Or people push them onto the cake surface, and they're really beautiful. If you're using a buttercream coating, for example, you literally can just place it on the surface. So just before we finish, I'm going to go back to the rose that I sealed with wax. This is now rock hard, so you want to leave it for at least 20 minutes. And this can now just go directly into the cake. So there you go. So 3 different ways of putting edible and non-edible flowers onto a cake. Really simple. Again, I'll put my list of suppliers and where I got the safety seal from in the comments below. In the meantime, please share, like, comment on this video, you know what to do, and subscribe to my channel because more videos are on their way. And also, if you hadn't realized already, I am back in my own kitchen. Perfect setup for YouTube. So if you've got any recommendations for videos that you want to see, write in the comments below and I will do my best to do them. I hope you found this helpful. I will see you next time.